Welcome to a TRE session. Here is a combo of quadruped position, and then I move into standard lying on the back position. So starting with some psoas tremors back and forth here, and spinal tremors side to side. Kind of smooth these movements. Not too vigorous, not too rapid. And right here, actually getting some small rapid tremors. Letting my head hang down a bit here because I did about a week holding my head and neck up more, just introducing some variety here. Letting my head down more. And I've been getting these tremors, these small, I think they're psoas tremors. The abs wanting to crunch together a bit, wanting to pull my body down. I've been getting these at the beginning of sessions with the quadruped position, and now also seeing some neck tremors. Those looked a bit new actually, those are interesting. It was the muscles on the back of the neck moving up and then relaxing and repeating that over and over. You can see that a little bit right now with my head moving. Yeah, so these are good examples of the psoas wanting to control and contract, playing out an open pattern, an uncompleted pattern from earlier in life, I imagine. There's a sort of, what I read into this is a sort of insecurity in being able to relax the tension in the psoas, the hip flexor, in that lower abdomen region. And I'm sure we could find psychological correlates, psychological explanations for this too. Because any physical pattern has a psychological correlate, an emotional correlate that accompanies it. And of course there's whole fields that people go into, that people study, and some people are naturally gifted to be able to have insight into those sorts of layers of the human psyche. The intention of my work is much more purely physical. That's what I find I'm suited for, and that's what I put my energy toward in my pathway of transformation and what I teach. I also find that the body is more foundational, more fundamental than the psyche. We can find physical trauma patterns in animals, like, let's say, dogs. Even though dogs don't have nearly as developed of a psyche as humans do. But the physical aspect is very sensitive to trauma, tension, uncompleted behavior loops from infancy. And so I also tend to have a view that biases the body more than these other layers. Partly because that's how my mind works and how my human system is designed, that I have more gifts in that region than I do in this kind of emotional insight. And also because evolutionarily it is more foundational. The emotions and the psyche, the mental layers, these developed after the physical body, after fascial patterns. So when we address the body, it's like addressing the roots of a plant. What happens to the roots affects the rest of the plant. But the opposite is not necessarily true. What happens to the leaves or branches of a plant don't necessarily affect the roots or the plant as a whole. Although, to continue the analogy, if we remove all the leaves from a plant, it's not going to photosynthesize and eventually it will die. Eventually it will be in bad health. But it takes longer and it has to be more thorough. You have to get rid of a lot of leaves. Whereas the roots, if you remove the roots from a plant, it will immediately die and there's no chance of its recovery. And in that way, it's more permanent, you know. If you remove the leaves of a tree, the leaves can grow back in time for the plant to survive. If you eliminate all the roots of a tree, the tree will first of all, it may fall over, and also it'll probably die much sooner. And in the human organism, when we resolve physical tension, it loosens the foundations of other forms of dysregulation and suffering in the mind and emotions. So emotional patterns, mental patterns have physical roots. And emotion work, emotional healing, mental reprogramming, manifestation, belief changes, these are all made easier when the physical tension in the body, the physical trauma, is resolved, dissolved, addressed. And here, lying on the back and coming towards the end of the session, putting my arms overhead, giving my diaphragm, my rib cage rather, a chance to expand a bit, see if there are different kinds of tremors that want to come with my arms overhead, and it looks like not really. I'm already pretty relaxed having started this session. And that's part of the explanation as to why I'm not tremoring more right now, and extending the legs to really get towards a conclusion of the tremoring, knowing that it's important to just lie here for a while, even after the video ends. So, if I could summarize what I've spoken about in this video in very short terms, that would be that resolving the physical tension and trauma in the body enables and allows healing and change of other types to occur much easier. And that's it for today. Wishing you all really well in your practice, and see you next time.